And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Raising Canes here in Laurel, Mississippi, right across from Walmart. This is Big John, and it's time for Kicking It with the Coach. Now, we didn't meet last week because the Tigers didn't play last week, and so they start back this Friday with region play against Northeast Lauderdale. And we thank Raising Canes because they have got us hooked up with a box combo, and I tell you, the sauce is off the chain. The best around, and you'll love it. I mean, you can use the sauce with anything, bread, fries, and the chicken. And if you wanted to, you could probably even put it in your drink if you like that sort of stuff, but I don't know if a Bloody Mary would be appropriate right now. So we thank y'all for listening, though. And our player of the week, and that's sponsored by Razmy's Party Supply, coming to you here in Laurel. And Kicking It with the Coach is sponsored by Middleton's Tree Service. Pee Wee Middleton, good guy, Northeast Jones alumni. So everybody's a Tiger alumni or has something to do with the Tigers here on the show. And our pal this week is Ben Knight. Ben had an outstanding game against Bay Springs a couple of weeks ago and had a lot of tackles. About 12 tackles that he recorded, so and did a great job helping the Tigers defensively. Coach, talk about being here for a moment before we talk about the Northeast Lauderdale game. What do you think, about his play of that game, and what did you take away from that?
Well, Ben's a great kid. He's a guy who shows up to work every day. I think he missed one day this summer. And his counterpart does a pretty good job too, Michael Wade. He didn't. I don't think Michael missed any, or Ben might not have missed one, and Michael missed one anyway. They're here every day. They work hard. They're bought in. They're not going to always be the biggest, the strongest, or the fastest. But I can tell you that nobody's going to play harder than them. Nobody's going to work harder than them. They're going to do things the right way. And he had a great game. I couldn't remember how many tackles. I knew it was 10 or 12. He and Michael both had a bunch of tackles, but he had a good game, and he's had a good year, and he plays a lot of special teams for us. He's Coach Kelly's done a tremendous job with him. He takes those guys at a young age and grooms them up and does a really, really good job. And Ben obviously showed that with his performance, or all year his performance, but really against Bay Springs the other night.
Okay. And Coach, talk about, you speak so highly of Ben, how he relates to the team, how he gels with the team. Talk about that.
Well, Ben's not a vocal guy. He's got his buddies and he hangs out. You don't see him, cutting up and clowning a lot, or even in not necessarily a cutting up and clowning way. He's not a real outspoken guy, but he is one of our leaders on defense, and he does speak up and makes calls and checks for us. He's kind of our quarterback, and he understands what we want to do and how we want to do it, and he's the one that kind of gets us in the proper defense and the proper calls and checks on defense. So he's a vocal guy, and the kids respond to it. When he speaks on the field, they listen. All of them listen.
Okay. And Ben, just to turn it over to you for a moment, Coach Bradley speaks very highly of you, and obviously you made a huge statement against Bay Springs. You were literally all over the field on defense. Talk about what it means to you to be able to go out and play your heart out for the Tigers.
I mean, it's just so fun on Friday nights being able to play like that, and I got to give the credit to my coaches for making a game plan to where I could play that well, and my D linemen for just keeping the linemen off of me, and secondary for covering so good so I could focus on the run and just play run the whole game pretty much, and make tackles all over the field and just play my hardest.
All right, and Ben, you're from the Glade community and has had a strong youth program there at Glade. And talk about, what does it, mean for your coach, Steve Kelly? How do you learn from him? And what did you see on the field Friday night to be able to get back there and make those stops?
I mean, the way Coach Kelly coaches us is just simplifies the game to where we don't have to think as much. We just read our keys and we just fly around and make tackles. So it was just simple on Friday with a great game plan that we had to just make plays the whole game.
And Coach Kelly, you've obviously you're an integral part of this team. Talk about this team as a whole, offensive, defensively, what do you see in them that makes them such a special unit?
Well, they've all been together for a long time. They've all just grown together. You say, well, we're 0-5 and we're not. Our record doesn't speak very well. But we played some really good competition, and I think that sometimes you just have to learn and find and gel and find out who maybe move this kid to a different position. Maybe he's not in the right place. But I think our kids have come together. We've stayed together, and I think we're looking forward to the next 5 weeks. You see, the great thing about this game is not how you start. It has a lot to do with how you finish. Exactly. And it may have taken us 5 games to figure out who we are. And hopefully we'll know in the next 5 weeks. You know, our kids worked hard. They've never quit. We've been in every game that we played. You know, we fight to the end. And I think it comes from our head coach. It goes right down and filters all the way down to the last player on the squad. You know, we're just not going to quit. You know, we're Tigers. We never yield. You know, we'll die before we fold, and that's the philosophy we teach. And of course, young men like Ben and a lot of our players play that way.
Coach, talk to me about what it meant for you to see Ben making those impressive stops on against Bay Springs, and tell me about what do you think about his play and just his ability to get out there and make plays.
Well, I think Ben and all the kids that I've coached at linebacker since I've been at Northeast, I make it hard Monday through Wednesday. It gets to be tough. I put them in bad situations. In other words, I want them to see what it's like. That way, how tough it gets. Because then on Friday, if they'll just do what we're coached up to do, it really gets easier. Friday nights are a lot easier than it is Monday and Tuesday, Wednesday for them. Big John, I'm just a firm believer. If you take these kids and they just learn and repeat, then they learn how to read and react, and they're not thinking. They play a lot faster on Friday than they do Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. But like I said, I'll just put them in tough situations during the week, so the game should really become a lot easier for them.
All right, thank you, Coach. All right, now, Coach Braddock, Friday night, we got Northeast Lauderdale coming to the Jungle, and I've heard through the grapevine you did something at practice the other day, wrote 0-5 on a sign and buried it. Talk about, what were you doing there, and what does that mean, for the average fan that may not know, what it takes to get out there and coach these guys up, the competition levels, and tell me about what you were trying to do with your players there.
Well, we talk about the season being a 3-part season. Season 1, non-division. Season 2, the playoffs, and the division. And season 3, the playoffs. So we talk about season 1 gets you ready for season 2, and then season 2, how you do in that will seed you for the playoffs. So season 1, even though our record's 0-5, my challenge to them week 4 last was, let's go get better. Let's don't worry about the scoreboard. Much as we all want to win, let's go get better. All right? Now, to say that we're better right now than when we were the first football game, we are. Yeah, the scores may not indicate that. So what we wanted to try to do with that is take that first season and bury it. It's over. Ain't nothing. It doesn't matter. Everybody's 0-0. It doesn't matter. So we just wrote on a little piece of paper, and season 1, 0-5, and we just had a little funeral service, and we buried it. And we went and got some flowers, and we put it on there because it's over. The truth of the matter is, it really don't matter. Had we beat West Jones at West Jones or Taylorsville, none of that matters. If we go out right now, we're going to be 1-0. And our kids bought in. Our kids, we got great coaches. Coach Kelly does a great job. All our coaches do. They're great teachers, but they're also team players that buy in. And a lot of these ideas are their ideas. I just get to be the coach. And they sell to these kids. We're not going to quit. It doesn't matter. I mean, do you realize we could still be division champs? You can be division champs. and that was kind of the message. So let's bury it. Let's just don't say, it's over with. Everybody starts 0-0. Let's make a point and use it as a point of emphasis. We're burying this dude, and we're going to move on. And that's kind of the mindset.
Rocky had in the movie, I think it was Rocky Balboa, the latest one or whatnot, he said it ain't about how hard you hit, it's about how hard you can get hit and keep on taking hits and how you respond to that. Is that sort of true with this football team going up against Northeast Lauderdale, a familiar foe that you know?
Yeah, absolutely it is. Hey, listen, man, it's easy. It's easy when you're winning, when you got really good players. And not that our players aren't good. I'm not talking about our players, but I'm talking about guys that are 6'4" and weigh 245 and run 4.3s. It's easy to go out there and have class and act right and do all those extra things and work hard, But when you're having to grind and you having a schedule like ours where you're playing really good people, it takes some guts and some integrity and some character to keep coming back. And people telling you, how bad the coaches are, how bad the kids, and every day you're getting everything you can. They yes sir, no sir, and they're going to bust their run. Well, we're going to be outside today. It's 110. Well, we got to go in the gym. It rained. They never waver, okay? So we use stuff like that, and I used that quote last week, by the way. But that's exactly what it is. It's about getting up and battling, getting up. Nobody's going – we try to teach it like the game of life. Nobody's going to feel sorry for you. Nobody's going to feel sorry for you because you're 0-5 or whether you're 5-0. It's a new game come Friday night, and I'm telling you right now, if we play good, we're going to win Friday. I'm just telling you. And if we fumble the football or we give them home run plays on defense, it's going to be a long night. If we play good and protect the ball, we're going to win Friday.
And so, Coach, fine point you made there. So considering that, you starting Friday to start division play, you're really getting into the meat of the schedule, when the games really matter. Considering that, is there like a change in your philosophy or your mindset or game plan considering what you've done the first half of the season? Or is everything still going to remain the same and you're going to just keep doing what you've been doing?
Well, no, like Coach said, Coach made a good point. You learn through games and even practice and time. There's a few things that you have to tweak, and you kind of find your identity a little more. You think you know it week 1 or week 2, but it's great if you can. It's great if you do know that, and you can figure it out by week 1 or 2. But most everybody, it takes a few weeks to get going and going through some growing pains. It takes some wins. It takes some losses to figure out kind of who you are. But as far as the preparation, no, we're going to go grind and we're going to work, and we're going to do what we feel like we need to do in order to stop the opponent or to score on the opponent. So there's really no magic wand. It's just the emphasis of, hey, it matters. Now, yes, they all matter, but the truth of the matter is, right now, sets you up for the playoffs. And that's the goal, is to get in the playoffs and see what happens.
All right. And, Coach, what would you say somebody, about coming to the game Friday? It ain't about the wins or the losses. It's about supporting these kids. Wouldn't you say that?
I would, yeah. It's easy to point the finger. Heck, I blame myself every day. That's what I think a winner does. You're talking about a winner, Coach, you're 0-5. That's what winners do. You look in the mirror and you blame yourself. So blaming somebody, blaming the coach, blaming the kid, blaming the guy that made the schedule, all that's neither here nor there. I would like to say, and I heard Jay Hobson say this last night, I watched his interview, I want to say thank you to our fans that do come. I'm not so much concerned about the ones that don't come. That's for somebody else, and somebody that's into marketing can get them there. But I want to say thank you to the ones that do come. And we have had a good show, and people understand. People's going to come support their kids. Kids play hard. People going to support you if they know you're working, if you got there grinding, if you're acting right, if the kids are acting right. And our kids are acting right. Our kids are playing hard. Yeah, we've come up short a few times, but heck, the beginning of a season, that's not going to define who we are. It's not about the storm, It's not about the storm. It's how you go through the storm and how you handle it, And that's kind of the message. So. I look for another good crowd. They always show up. They have since I can remember, and I look forward to them being there and cheering us on Friday. And I thank the ones that have been sticking with us.
All right. Well, folks, thank you for listening today. This is Big John, and we've been coming to you live from Raising Cane's. If you're trying to figure out what you want to do for supper, come out here and get you a box combo. and tell them you heard about it on the show. Again, thanks to Mark and Rex here. We thank Ben for being here, Coach Kelly, and Kinsley. It's been a fun one. Thank you.